Genetically modified organisms have been linked to toxic and allergic reactions, sick, sterile, and dead livestock, and damage to virtually every organ studied in lab animals. However, these damaging toxins are also present outside of the laboratory and exist in many common foods that humans consume regularly. Hi, my name is Keeton, and I am a comm major at the University of Nebraska. And hopefully, this persuasive speech will dissuade you from consuming too many genetically modified organisms and bring awareness to the adverse effects that they can have on your health and to the health of the human race. Many of us have heard the term GMO in food science and health magazines, but what is a GMO and what harmful byproducts are produced through GMOs? GMOs, or genetically modified organisms, are plants and animals um, created through gene splicing techniques of biotechnology, also called genetic engineering or GE. Agricultural products are segmented into two groups. There are those that are at high risk of being genetically modified because they are currently in commercial production. These products, such as alfalfa, canola, corn, papaya, and cotton, soy and sugar beets, and then there are also monitored crops, those for which suspected or known incidents of contamination have occurred, and those of which have genetically modified relatives in commercial production, in which cross-pollination could be possible. We test regularly to assess risk and move to high-risk categories for ongoing testing if we see contamination. And such products such as flaxseed and rice fall into this category. Much of the population is becoming increasingly aware that GMOs are present in every trip to the supermarket and are being used in America's favorite food producers. GMOs are present in many of Americans' most popular food producers, including the worst of all, Monsanto. Approximately 70% of processed foods in the U.S. now contain GMOs, and Monsanto has fought to preserve the no-label policy in the U.S. Monsanto contributes to many foodborne illnesses, and massive GMO crop failures tend to regularly bankrupt hundreds of American farmers as a result. Monsanto pollutes the developing world, and we've seen Monsanto linked to the cause of Agent Orange babies, which is a very serious disorder amongst newborns in different parts of the world, such as China and India. Some of our America's most popular foods very much contain genetically modified organisms, and we see this in rice, cotton, tomatoes, and potatoes. What's surprising about these foods is that these foods are needing to be cultivated, or they're marketed as whole foods. And an interesting fact about these is that Americans purchase these foods in hopes that they're going to be the most purest source of whole foods, potatoes, things that come from the ground. And what we've seen lately in recent history is that these are the foods that are being genetically modified first because they're such a staple in other foods. And so if we see tomatoes or potatoes or carrots in the supermarket, we assume that they're safe for us. They've been grown and they've been cultivated by farmers, when in recent history, this is not the case. As a matter of fact, if we do not see a non-GMO label or indication of any kind, it's closer and more right for Americans to assume that they are genetically modified rather than not. What is somewhat deceiving about GMO production is that the ramifications of such an unhealthy food source will slowly harm the population rather than instantaneously or rapidly. GMOs are capable of producing multiple health risks to the human population, which can greatly inhibit the human race as a whole and its natural food source. As a result of GMOs, we've seen an increase in allergies and foodborne illnesses. These allergies have come about in many of these whole foods or foods marketed as naturally cultivated. Soybean allergies, corn allergies, produce allergies, and what is becoming increasingly popular amongst the American population as a whole is wheat allergies. Wheat is a cultivated product that has been so tampered with genetically that most people that are allergic to wheat are unsure if it's actually a wheat allergy or if it's a byproduct of some type of genetic modification. Um, Another adverse effect of genetically modified organisms is the factor they play into immunity in the human race. Um, with coupling with the readily available amount of vaccines that are available to at least American culture today, we see this coupled with genetically modified organisms that produce um, some very unnatural effects to human immunity in the way that we deal with diseases, foodborne illnesses, and things of that nature. With the combination of these vaccines and the antiviruses and anti-contaminants that are present in these whole foods, the increased resiliency to the immunity of the human race is actually becoming a bad thing. Today in America, without the regulation of a GMO modified label or warning on popular processed foods, food giants such as Monsanto are able to freely market and sell genetically modified organisms to consumers through readily available foods purchased by millions of Americans daily. It's important to understand the health risks associated with consuming multiple amounts of GMOs in a daily diet. Last but not least, it's important to note a flaw in the Food and Drug Administration in protecting us against these harmful GMOs. For this reason, every American must look out for his and herself and one's own family to combat the unexpected and unmonitored effects of GMO contamination in today's food source. Thank you.